Hey YouTube, Kira Quality here, bringing you guys my Chronofang Gear Chronicle deck profile for October 2017. It's a really fun deck. I didn't actually think that Chronofang would get support in the latest BT12 booster pack, but really happy that they did because the support that they gave the deck really made the deck really shine. It gave it that pure Chronofang support that I was really looking forward to. We got a couple cards for Chronofang in the Gears of Fate booster pack, but this stuff really tied the deck together as a whole. So let's go ahead and give you guys the deck profile. For starters, I run 4 Chrono Tiger Rebellion, still probably the best stride, in my opinion, for Chronofang. This card basically is a Soul Blast 1, choose a face-down card, name Chrono Tiger Rebellion. This card, for every every 2 face-up cards in your bind zone gets plus 5,000, and he gets the effect by binding a card from your hand and field. You get an extra drive check and an extra critical. So quadruple drive as well as an extra critical is amazing pressure against your opponent, and also makes up for the bind from field and rear guard. And most of the time with your rear guard bind, you can go for the Gear Tabby, which will protect you from minusing too much, because then it'll become a put into soul plus 5 draw, which will make up for the bind power and also the draw 1 card for the card you got rid of. And I have 3 Chrono Tiger Gear Glare at the moment. This is the newest stride for Chronofang. It's really good for pressure. It has a GB3 effect. If the number of cards in your bind zone is 5 or more, this unit gets plus 10,000 power, and then if it's 7 or more, it gets an extra crit. And if it, if it's 9 or more, it gets drive plus 1. I still think that this Chrono Tiger is much easier to get off effect-wise, but this one also has a put on the bottom of the deck effect, a once per turn Soul Blast. So you have that going for you as well if you need to take care of your opponent's rear guards. And you can also stride into this one first, so it can be your first turn stride if need be with that effect, and just to help get rid of a lot of pesky resources. I'll say in a second, showing what cards I get rid of for the additional Chrono Tiger in a sec. I also run 1 Metal Pulsar Alter Dragon. I run this card because a lot of these are Soul reliant and Counterblast reliant once we get to Bind Time Dragon. So having this card as the countercharge option, and the fact that you'll get a free stride most of the time with Chronofang, means that you can easily go into this, get your bind zone built up with other cards that you can use, and not have to worry about using anything besides just unflipping 1 in your G zone. And I have 4 Interdimensional Dragon, Bind Time Dragon in the deck currently. I will probably bump this down to 2, taking out 1 for maybe the Generation Break 8 or something else generic in the final of the Chrono Tiger strides. To finish it up, I just think Chrono Tiger Gear Glare is a little more better than this card, since this one requires a Counterblast 2 and a Soul Blast to use, while the other one just requires the Soul Blast. Like I said, and you also use your Counterblast a lot with some of the other units in the deck. And for the G Guardians, I run 2 Uluru. This is just for the put back effect and the plus 5, one of the easiest shields to achieve in the deck. And also 1 Pandora Chimera. This card is another putback effect. I might replace this for the Unflip Uluru if you have it, just for easier shields to gain as well. And 1 Rafana. This helps you get Gear Tabby out on the field quicker, so you can have your bind and draw effects when you go off on your Chrono Tiger strides. And that's it for the bind zone. We'll move on to the main deck. I run 4 Chronofang Tiger. This is your main go-to ride for your Vanguard. It has the free stride cost for GB2. All you have to do is place the card you stride with into the bind zone. So you can use a grade 0 to bind. You just have to remember to stride, you just have to remember to place it in the bind zone to get off the effect. And the other one is when it's placed on Vanguard, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and they put it to the deck and then search for a grade that's -2. So if you target a 1 or a 0 with this effect, you basically get rid of 1 unit on the field, and they just shuffle their deck. They don't have any searches possible for that effect. So all in all, very good pressure. I love the free stride cost that you achieve with this, meaning that you can keep your hand pretty much for guards and rear guard resources. And also 3 Chronofang Tiger G as the final one, just so you have the Chronofang ride target. But this card really isn't that good on Vanguard. I much rather prefer Chronofang, since he has that free, basically free stride power. And then for grade 2s, I run 4 Steam Tamer Nani. This is probably the best grade 2 we have in the deck, just because he's very easy to call out. It's during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Chronofang, this unit gets plus 1,000 for each card in your bind zone. And from the bind zone, it's a Generation Break 1, Soul Blast 1. At the end of the battle that your grade 4 Vanguard with Chronofang and its card name attacked, you may pay the cost. If you do, call this card to rear guard. So keep in mind that power that this card can gain from the cards in your bind zone, and also keep your soul ready to use, just so you can get this card out on the field very easily after attack, and go for those multiple attacks as well. And also I run 4 Steam Links Apodopera. This is a new grade 2 that we got for the deck for Chronofang. Counterblast 1, choose one of your other rear guards, bind it face up, and bind the top card of your deck face up. When this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard or Chronofang in its card name, you may pay the cost. If you do, draw a card. This unit gets plus 3,000 until the end of turn, and your opponent chooses one of his or her rear guards, put it on the bottom of his or her deck. If your opponent did not, you countercharge 1. So they have the option to put it. If not, you countercharge, making up for the counterblast for basically the draw and bind zone buildup you got. It's also a 9k with power, which is just perfect setup for some of your Chronofang effects in the deck. And lastly, I run 4 Steam Links Nadine, the final Chronofang support we received in the new pack. So once per turn counterblast, bind the top card of your deck face up. If you have a Vanguard with Chronofang, you in its card name, call this card to rear guard. So this effect is from the bind zone. So another easy call effect from the bind zone, and it gets plus 1,000 until the end of the turn for each card in your bind zone. Then if the number of cards in your bind zone is 3 or more, soul charge 1. Then if it's 5 or more, draw a card. Another easy draw effect. It's not a generation break either. So if you get this card in the bind zone early on, let's say with the effect of Chronofang, by putting a card in the bind zone, then return one of your opponent's rear guards, easy callback with this card's effect. Just a once per turn, obviously, with its effect, but very good nonetheless. And then for grade 1s, I run 4 Arlim. This card, probably the most preferred perfect card, since it's a counter charge effect, makes up for all the cards you use in the deck that use countered blasts, making up for that counter charge. And also 4 Pulsar Revolver Draco Kid. This is your stride fodder that you use. It's also able to search out both of the Chronofangs, so with this card, unlike when I used to run Steam Breath, you can always search and grab the Chronofang Tiger to have your preferred ride target with this card. And also stride fodder if need be for your first go at your stride. And also 3 forward pressing Gear Tiger. You bind the top card of your deck face up. When this card is bound face up, not from your deck, if you have a Vanguard with Chronofang in its card name, you pay the cost. If you do, you soul charge 1. So it's good to build up for the Chrono Tiger card, since they don't require counterblast, they require a soul blast for their effects. And Generation Break 2, when this unit is placed on rear guard, if you have a Vanguard with Chronofang in its card name, this unit gets plus 1,000 to the end of the turn for each card in your bind zone. So a lot of the cards in the deck revolve around the bind zone for power, so you can hit some pretty big columns using this and your other grade 2s. And I also run 3 Steam Links Emmy. This is another card for power from the bind zone. You counterblast 1, put this unit into your drop zone, bind the 2 cards from the top of your deck, choose 2 of your units, they get plus 3,000 to the end of the turn. So some of your 9Ks, if they don't have boosters and they don't have any of their power boosts, you can use this card to that advantage for 12k attacks. And when it's placed on the guard circle, basically rear or guard circle, you may bind this card face up. So another good card to guard with, and then just get that easy bind cost as well. Makes up for a lot of your card effects that you want to have when it comes to Chrono Tiger. So you can basically get easy binds using this card as well. And for the grade 0s, your starter is Chrono Tiger. This is pretty standard. It's got that put into soul, return something from the bound zone to rear when your opponent puts one of their cards on the bottom of the deck. Mostly used with Chronofang's on-place Vanguard effect. It's not a generation break either, so you can easily get this card's effect off. And the plus 4,000 to that card you call as well helps for very good pressure early game, depending on what you use. And for Night Barking Gear Tabby, an effect trigger for Chronofang, which when it's placed in the bind zone from rear, you may put it into the soul. If you do, draw a card, choose one of your Vanguards, it gets plus 5,000 to the end of the turn. So, in a sense, it's different from the crits where they go into the soul and they give power. This one, you have to bind it to do that effect, but also good because it doesn't have to be when the unit attacks, just when it's placed from rear to bind circle, which is very easy to do with this deck. And also 4 Pulsar Thrust on Bison. This card is the Put into Soul +3. Use it just once again for soul buildup. Very easy soul buildup. No reason to run a non-effect trigger when you have this card as an option. And same goes for Lucky Pot Draco Kid. I used to run stands in this deck, but draw triggers just help so much because this deck's #1 weakness is just investing too much in your plays, and having this for draw power can help make up some of your hand consistency that can make or break a game for you. And finally, for Steam Doctor Enja, if you wanted to change this to the Uluru with the effect, if you add the new Uluru's G-Guard into the deck, you can do that as well. No reason not to. But yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And until next time, Kira Qualia out.